The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
This is Monica Bachchan, founder of Metalogic PMS. Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I represent Metalogic PMS and we call it a maximum women staff organization. Today we are presenting Enhancing Indian Steel Demand Through Infrastructures Projects webinar sponsored by Jindal Steel and Power Limited, ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India, JSPL Steel Limited, Electrotherm TMT, Murugappa Group's TI Macho TMT, and American Steel Private Limited. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the panel discussion, please type them into the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I will bring them up during the presentation, and we will also have time for questions at the end. Always mention your company name and organization which you are representing and who you would like to address your questions to. A little background about this event. Prime Minister's advisors and Niti Aayog recently suggested that the government could significantly step up investments in railway, ports, airports, logistics, and connecting state capital through a more extensive road network. The National Infrastructure Pipeline has over 100 lakh crore rupees worth infra projects listed under it, which is implemented. Sorry. The National Infrastructure Pipeline has over 100 lakh crore worth infra projects listed under it, which is implemented and completed in a timely manner, will provide the much needed impetus to the ailing sectors like steel and cement. Niti Aayog is also recommending to the government that it mandates the use of recycled materials up to 25% in large infrastructure projects in line with the global move to promote the use of secondary products. These green shoot arising in the infra segment are an indication that there is a lot of potential in store for steel sector in the years to come. However, the government strategies in this direction have to be in line addressing the industry sustainability. Today, our discussion is aligned to the direction of catalyzing these infra projects, which will generate adequate demand for the steel sector in the current difficult times when the domestic demand is struggling and exports are getting squeezed due to inward looking policies being adopted by various countries. I would like to introduce today's expert panel to you all. Each panelist will get about 7 to 8 minutes and then we'll begin the Q&A from audience. Our panelists are Shri R.K. Pandey. He is a member project at National Highway Authority of India. Mr. V.R. Sharma, Managing Director of Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Mr. Dilip Kumar Gupta is the Managing Director of Sagarmala Development Company Limited. Then Mr. Ranjan Dhar is the Chief Marketing Officer at ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel India. Mr. Vinay Shroff is the Executive Vice President Sales and Market at JSPL Steel Limited. And Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra is the Chief Marketing, Construction and Commercial, Tata Steel Limited. We will start with Mr. R.K. Pandey. I'll give you a little introduction of Mr. R.K. Pandey. He is a graduate from Jabalpur Joint Ministry of Road Transport and Highway in 1986. Presently, he is serving as a member projects of NHAI. Mr. R.K. Pandey, so over to you.
Thank you, Monica, and good afternoon, everyone. Friends, as Monica said, I represent the highway sector. We are not only the infrastructure provider, but we are also one of the major users of the steel. So in my, whatever I'll express, I'll divide it into two parts. What is we have to offer to the steel industry and what we expect from the steel industry. Coming to the offer we have for the steel industry, I can only tell you, probably you might be knowing that the Government of India has launched an ambitious program for improvement of the national highways. For the benefit of those who are not from the highway sector, basically the road network has been divided into 5 different categories depending upon who is the custodian. And I'll say national highway, central government is the custodian. Although the length of the national highway is only 132,000 kilometers, but it carries maximum traffic. So these are the arteries to the national carrier. For improvement of national highway, Bharatmala has been launched. This program covers development of roughly 65,000 kilometers of road network. Out of this 65,000 kilometers, 25,000 kilometers are to be covered in phase 1, which is likely to be completed by 2022. The most important aspect of Bharatmala is, number one, it is a very scientifically designed scheme. When I say it is scientifically designed scheme, for the first time what it happened, if you see the road development history in the country, we have always developed the existing road and went on capacity augmented. But when we had a lot of data, in fact, we have collected data for 600 districts in the country, and now we know from where which are the origin point and which are the destination points. So this time what we did is, rather than developing the road along the existing road, we have taken up a number of greenfield corridors. Just to give you an example, Delhi to Mumbai is already connected by Jaipur-Udaipur. The present road is nearing its capacity is exhausted. Now I have two options, either to further widen it or take up a new greenfield alignment. So we have chosen an alignment which runs, it takes a crowfield alignment. There are a number of advantages of adopting it, but for the road user, the biggest advantage is we have gone by the reduction of the distance. So now the distance between Delhi to Mumbai has been reduced by 200 kilometers. It will not only save your fuel, but also save your time. The second important aspect of Bharatmala is it is not the economic connection of economic corridors alone. We are also targeting connectivity to ports, connectivity to backward areas, and it also includes a component which is called development of MMLP, multimodal logistic park. Whenever we talk about freight movement in the country, although the road being the major carrier, it is not as per the world standard, but in our country, because of the door-to-door operation and flexibility in movement, road is the major carrier and it carries about 70% of the freight. Problem is to reduce logistic cost, we'll have to facilities, and towards this multimodal logistic parks also included in the Bharatmala Pariyojana. The second aspect, this is in terms of the quantitative term. And I know whenever I talk about this kind of implementation of this kind of a scheme, the apprehension in the mind of everyone is whether we are in a position to do it. Particularly after COVID, everybody asks whether you will be able to implement this project. There are 2-3 important aspects which I can just tell you. As far as highway sector is concerned, we are confident that we will be in a position to do so. Why I am saying this with so much, 5,000 kilometers by 2025, we have already awarded work in 12,000 kilometers. This year we are targeting something around 6,000 to 7,000 kilometers. In any case, by next year we will be in a position to award it. Of course, when I say about awarding the projects and all those, it is in my hand. But people think about the resources, funding. I can assure you, this is one sector where we survive all kind of situation. There was a time when we had taken up, initially road was in the social sector, and we were developing all our road with the help of the budgetary support. The time came, then we switched over to BOT, and during the year 2010-12, it was wholehearted BOT. We were fully dependent on BOT. Unfortunately, when BOT flopped, again we switched over to EPC, and we now brought out another model which is called M, wherein we pay a percentage of the cost and remaining in the deferred annuities. Not only this, we have number of different schemes which includes TOT, securitization of toll. So depending upon the risk capacity of an individual, we are exploiting each and every sector of the market, and that is giving me confidence that we will be able to do it. This is what about the quantitative terms. Coming to the qualitative terms, when we started development of the road, maybe around two decades back, that time having 4-lane road itself was a dream. We realized that dream under NHDP, but when we completed all those projects, we realized, construction of 4-lane road alone is not good, because we have made good road, but these are not safe road. So today, it is not the building of road alone, but road safety as an added parameter. Why I'm saying road safety and as a added parameter, it has direct influence on the requirement of the steel. Two important points which I have highlighted. One is I'm following road field alignment, and number two is the road safety requirement. Today, the kind of road which we are developing, you'll find a number of underpasses, overpasses. There was a time when we used to provide a underpass, a overpass, maybe after 10 or 12 or 15 kilometers. Today, we are planning underpasses at the at an interval of 2 kilometers. Number two, when we are developing expressways, these are access control roads. The moment I say access control road means nobody is allowed to come on these roads. When I'm saying nobody is allowed to come on these roads, it means I have to provide all crossing facilities. When I'm providing crossing facilities, it means number of structure per kilometer has increased manifold. When I told you that we are targeting crop field kind of alignment, it means if hill is coming in between, I'm trying to cut it. So construction of tunnel, construction of bridge is not at all an issue. It is a very common feature now in the road development. Earlier, it was not there. So in both the ways, for a steel market is enormous. Now, question is today's the topic of today's webinar: how to increase the share of steel. Everybody talks, why not steel structure? Friends, when I see as a user, question comes today, steel is saying, why not steel? If cement consumption goes down tomorrow, cement industry may come and say, why not cement? So our fundamental is clear. We are saying whose over is cheaper to me will go further. In fact, the biggest change what we brought in our document is now we are not specifying to anyone that what kind of structure I'm looking for. I'm only specifying I need a road connecting A to B. Provide bridges, minimum size of bridge there, so many underpasses, all those, it is all documented, and it is the liberty of the contractor and concessionaire to choose the kind of material. If the concessionaire feels that he can do a steel bridge much faster than the concrete bridge, he is free to do it. He will do it for a very simple reason, because the time he'll save, he'll collect more toll on it, and that toll goes to him. So full freedom has been given to the contractor and concessionaire to decide the material which they would like to do. We have modified all our contract documents. From our side, we are not specifying anything. Now coming to the our expectation from the industry. Friends, as I told you, our structures are important structure on which the entire transportation system is depends. I am looking for something which is highly durable. Today, I can't construct a structure where I have to keep it closed for 2 days or 3 days in a month or a year. Nobody, because today all roads are toll roads. When people are paying, they cannot accept any kind of disruption. So I'm looking for material which is highly durable. Even to that respect, I'll tell you, when I'll say when people are paying toll, they are not willing to take disruptions. It is not only disruption. They are not even willing to take any kind of discomfort. As a result, even in our codal provision, we have changed that we have to, instead of going for small span bridges, we have to go for long span bridges, because in the bridges you have to provide number of expansion joint and bearings which have limited life. So we are going for longer span bridges. Today there was a time when we constructed a 3 kilometer or 5 kilometer long bridge in a decade. And that we used to say we have constructed such a long bridge. Today, the position is on our drawing boards, or between drawing board to the tender stage, there are dozens of bridges which are more than 5 kilometers. There was a time when we were planning for a bridge which was 10.2 kilometers. We thought it will be the longest bridge in the country. By the time the tender was awarded, another bridge came which is 12 kilometers long. So long bridges is now, you find cable stage, extra dose bridges are a very common feature in our road development. So what I'm looking from the industry side is come out with that kind of material, which will help me to construct these kind of bridges. Come out the kind of material which will give me that kind of bearings, which will give me the durable expansion joint, which gives full comfort to the road user. Apart from quality, as I said, when we started road building, it was purely road building which encompasses only aggregate and bitumen and some cement and small structural materials. Today, it is not road building alone. We have to take care of road safety. We have to take care of environment. Everybody is talking about how to reduce carbon footprint. So we are also looking for material which is having a very high strength. Why restrict ourselves to 550 or 600? Why not much more than that? Make my structure sleeker, which will be easy to handle, which will be easy to implement, which is easy to maintain. I'm looking towards the industry to give me that kind of material. It is not only the quality and the durability. The other point where we will have to pitch it is the cost. If you leave it to me, I am not interested in asking someone to give me concrete or the steel. You come forward. You prove it that you are better than concrete. Let people adopt it. Anything which comes from the market, which comes from its own strength, will not need any kind of support at any point of time. I can only give you an example of cement industry. when they wanted to use cement in road construction, they did a lot of research work. They proved it that in terms of whole life cycle costing analysis, cement roads are cheaper. Similarly, steel industry should come forward, do some kind of work to put their point before that. Don't ask for any support. Say we have that strength, we deserve it. That is why you do it. There are opportunities as far as we are concerned. We are willing to join hands with the industry. If industry want any kind of coordination, any kind of issue with us, we are willing to do it. For example, I tell you, there was a point that slag is not being used in road construction. It is, as per the specification, it is allowed. But unfortunately, people didn't have that kind of confidence and people didn't use it. We, with the Ministry of Steel and with some of the steel manufacturers, taken up this scheme on a pilot basis. We said, okay, I'm willing to give you my road stretch. Lay it. If it fails, it is my responsibility, not to bother about. Why we were doing it? Because today getting aggregate itself is a problem. If I can use this, it is win-win for everyone. So friends, we are open, we are willing to do it. As far as highway sector is concerned, I hope we'll provide ample opportunity to you. And now it is time for you to come forward and take the advantage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pandey sir. You have really set the floor now and given your expectations to the panelists we have from the steel industry. Now we will move on to Mr. V.R. Sharma, who is our second panelist. I'll give you a little introduction of Mr. V.R. Sharma. He is a managing director of Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Prior to joining JSPL, he was a group CEO of Abul Khair Group and managing its steel, power, cement, and mining business. And previously, he was DMD and CEO of JSPL. Extremely passionate for steel, Mr. Sharma has given 36 years of to the industry while leading multi-locational steel, power, cement, mining operation, innovation, cost-effective large steel projects management, and was instrumental in bringing in transformation changes of various steel corporates. So, Mr. Sharma, it's over to you. I'll just turn on your mic.
Good afternoon, friends, and thank you, Monica, for speaking about me. You have given me a very tough topic to speak with, and it is on the infrastructure projects. How many projects are launched? How many projects are stalled? What is the progress? Before I go ahead, I wish to explain and I wish to inform everyone as a discriminatory note. Normally, what happens, because when we speak about the progress of any project or anything, then sometimes the message is taken in a different spirit. But we all are professionals. The purpose is to speak something so that in case of there are shortcomings, we can find the solutions and the country can find the solutions. So whatever information I got, which I gathered, my team has gathered from different websites and the public domain or different agencies involved, that I'm repeating here in very concise note. And the sanctity of the information and sanctity of my speech will depend upon the correctness of the data posted by different agencies on their websites and also on the public domain. And some of the newspapers also I referred. So whatever news I gathered from them, so that I'm presenting for the knowledge of everyone. I'd like to highlight that since 2014, 130 lakh crore of projects were declared and by Government of India. And many of the projects, they started well, but the progress are yet to be gauged. As per the information available on different public domain, we have a national infrastructure pipeline, which is about 102 lakh crore. Sagarmala project, 8.5 lakh crore. River linking project, 6 lakh crore. Bharatmala project, 5.35 lakh crore. Railway projects for different railway lines, new railway stations, new linking, is about 6.75 lakh crore. Then there was a project to build a new capital in Andhra Pradesh, Amravati project, that was 60,000 crores. Then 100 smart cities are supposed to be built by government in the country, and that will about 1 lakh crore. Apart from that, there are so many housing projects which are declared under the Prime Minister's scheme, and put together, this becomes to about 130 lakh crore of the total projects. It's very, very ambitious and very, very excellent declaration, and the ribbon cutting ceremonies and the starting of projects by Government of India in a very good spirit. But some of the projects are doing very well, but many of the projects are struggling because of one reason or another reason. Though the data are available on the different websites, there is no point in repeating that data, why the progress is slow, why the entire country could not reach to this 130 lakh crore of investment, which will definitely bring the country to more than $5 trillion economy. So here there is no question of whether cement is used or stone is used or RCC roads are built or the steel is used. Here the one single agenda is, if we bring this 130 lakh crores of projects into reality, then the country will be rated differently. We become, in true sense, the third largest economy in the world. So though our role will be about only 7% in the world economy, in a economy of about $80 trillion. So, but we will definitely be a force to reckon with. Apart from that, if you come to the private sector, there are more than $20 billion of projects which are either stalled or have gone to NPAs or which are under NCLTs, and the majority of them is the power plants. Apart from that, about $2 billion of projects in terms of mining, and be it coal mine or iron ore mine or bauxite mine, those are also either stalled or just crawling at a very slow speed. So the point here is, how can we do it? Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Finance Minister, they have done their job. They have initiated the projects, and I'm sure under the 5-year plan, the funds must have been allocated. But you know, for the last couple of years, the country has been facing a very different challenges. First of all, there is always a political environment which prevents the projects. For example, whenever the state governments they are changed, then the priorities also do change. Whenever the central government changes, the priorities do change. We wanted to have refined aircraft for the defense, but it took so many years. More than 12 years have passed. Now the first 6 aircraft will be coming in this month. So this is one example I'm telling you. Amravati is another example. Some of the projects declared in Maharashtra to decongest Bombay is another example. So the political stabilization or destabilization or change in the politics or change in the political leadership in a particular state, that also plays a very vital role. Not everything is in the hands of government. Government has been sincerely trying to implement everything. So, but you know, there are so many groups in the country, and sometimes the opposition, sometimes the NGOs, sometimes the other societal groups, they do hamper the projects. I think a comprehensive policy is to be designed and drafted, where once the projects are cleared by Government of India, come what may, those projects should not be changed. The another big issue is, today if you see the all national highways or the motorways in Europe or in America, So both sides of the motorways or highways, people are not allowed to bring the shopping centers. People are not allowed to bring the housing sector. Perhaps India is the only country when we develop a highway, then property prices they go up, and finally the highway becomes a road after 10 years or 15 years. Delhi has seen 3 outer ring roads in last 40 years. So the first outer ring road, second outer ring road, now third outer ring road. Now we are looking at an outer ring road for the NCR. So this means whenever, like Delhi, Bombay to Pune, any highway, there's a small highway in Noida, Greater Noida Express Highway. It's only 24 kilometers long, but both sides are full of commercial activities as well as housing sector. Means we overburden the highway once again. When we visit Germany, France, UK, I have been traveling UK since 1981, and I found that M1 highway, M2 highway, M3 highway, M4 highway, same. There is no change in last 40 years time because you are not allowed to commercialize these highways. So we have to see whether we want to build a highway expressway and then we cut the plots, ask builders to build the housing sector or commercial sector, and then again after 20 years we think for another highway. India does not have that much of land which can afford so many highways. Whatever the Bharatmala projects or any other highway projects, my request to Government of India and the policymakers is that we should never allow any highway to become commercialized except for the petrol stations or maybe some of the motels on the way after 300, 400 kilometers and nothing more. Emergency services, hospital, it's okay for the first aid, but not for the commercial purposes or residential purposes. The another factor is whether steel, cement, there's no problem. Both are brothers and sisters. We should use cement also, we should steel also. Both have their own advantages, disadvantages. But we have to see which has more recycling value. Cement has zero recycling value. Concrete has zero recycling value. Steel has plus recycling value, 10% more, 15% more recycling value. Why? Because when you have steel, when you recycle it after 30 years, 40 years time, whatever, then first of all, you get 92 to 94% of the net yield when you remelt. Secondly, the carbon footprint to produce that steel is minimized to only 5%. A similar action is when you use steel, then the overall consumption of water in constructing a building that reduces to 5%. Whereas when you have concrete building, consume a lot of water in curing, in constructing a building. Transportation is another factor. Today we have seen 80 lakh people have migrated back to their hometowns or home states. And there's a big issue how to do the construction. The only solution to such problem is steel. So that we produce steel buildings outside is like a DIY project, do it yourself. So that when we transport the steel to the sites, and then it is a bolt and nut technology. And most of the buildings, even high-rise buildings, that we are doing in JSPL, we have a division for this, and so that we can overcome the day-to-day issues. Now we have developed in JSPL, we have developed a product, JGRS, that is called a solution for the global road building solution. We have a solution, this we imported from South Africa, that on a bare land, we can construct the road without making any base. This is a new technology. We have brought another technology in Jindal that is called lightweight aggregate technology, where the aggregate is made out of fly ash, and the density is so low, up to M30, M40 foundations, etc. We are used in our plant. So this is the technology for future to consume fly ash and also to preserve mountains. Today we are breaking mountains, breaking stone, and then bringing it to construct the construction sites. We should stop these things.
Right, sir.
Be it road, be it anything. So these are the areas. So my point is that this $5 trillion economy is not a big issue. We can definitely achieve it. 300 million ton steel, also we can achieve it. But what we have to do, we have to invite a lot of FDI in the country. We need funds. And to need funds, we must discuss with the international players to invest in it. This is what we have to do. So that's all from my side, Monica. Thank you very much for giving me time to speak to you and to the August gathering, those who are listening me. The mantra is we have to work together, shoulder to shoulder with the private and public people. We have to find out the right solution at the right time. And with all sincerity, we should do all these projects of 130 lakh crore of projects declared by Government of India. And if the funds is a scarcity, then we must find out the FDI to come to the country and to start all these projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, V.R. Sharma sir, and absolutely you have given a very vital inputs. And if we do not talk about stall projects, I don't know, how can we really talk about upcoming projects, because project execution is it's not difficult, but project completion is the major challenge which people are really now facing. So now we will quickly move on to our next panelist, Mr. Dilip Kumar Gupta. I'll give you a little introduction to Mr. Dilip Kumar Gupta. He's a managing director at Sagarmala Development Company Limited. Mr. Dilip Gupta has been working as CES Group A office since 1994. He completed his degree in civil engineering from IIT Roorkee, MTech in water resources from IIT Delhi, and thereafter pursue his MBA from FMS Delhi University in 2004. His core competency lies in the field of project appraisal, project development, project structuring, project execution, and managing project from the concept to completion with timely and flawless delivery. I think this is what we need. The completion of project is highly important. Now I welcome Dilip sir. So over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope people are by now aware with the Sagarmala. Sagarmala is a program for the development of port and port-related incentives like industrializations, last mile connectivity, other things. And I know Sagarmala cannot do without the steel industry, because port development consumes a lot of steel. And that's why perhaps Monica chose me to speak on this topic. So let me start with the Sagarmala, because the time is very short of 7 to 8 minutes. Let me start with the programs. Sagarmala basically look forward to increase the capacity of port from 1.5 billion ton to 3 billion ton. When we started the program of Sagarmala in year 2015, the port capacity was 1.5 billion ton. And by 2025, the target is to make it to 3 billion ton. While trying to achieve that target, we have already achieved 2.2, so we are very much on timeline. And we are still thinking of enlarging the scope of this port development. And in between, government decided to invite the private participation and the FDI. And we are very much encouraged to receive the private participation as well as FDI. So we are now going to develop all the bus, oil pipelines, everything on PPE mode, basically. So I would like to share a few slides to show you the things, what we have. Monica, can you please allow me to, can it be seen now?
Sir, एक बार आप share screen करिए.
Is it okay?
Sir, can't view.
Is it visible?
Right, sir. Now it was visible. It was visible. Now it's not visible. Yes, yes. Yes, now it's visible.
Visible, correct. So, I want to show you the list of the few projects I have come out with the latest. These are the projects which are actually open to the public right now. So you can see one of the project at Paradeep, something costing around 3,000 crore, additional deep drop multi-purpose berth at NMPT is 200 crore, general cargo berth at Note 2 is around 200 crore, development of fishing harbor at this Mangalore. There are 3 oil jetty at 9, 10, 11 at Kandla port. These are the very big projects where obviously steel sector can look to. development of mechanized fertilizer handling facility, conversion of general cargo berth at liquid berth. This Kanyakumari, you know, the Badawan port has already been announced by the cabinet. It's almost 60,000 crore rupees project at Maharashtra. This one project is going to come at Karnataka. Private sector ports are coming into that. So there are many projects. Why I am showing all these projects? That we have to understand that a port is a construction of many segments. Like one is the berth, then warehouses. Warehouses are the things where a lot of steel is being consumed. Similarly, equipments. All the handling equipments are made of what? Steels. So our warehouses, jetty construction, and the equipment to handle. All these things require huge steel. And since Sagarmala is coming up with all these projects through all their various ports, so what I am trying to convince to you people that you people should be in touch to the port authorities, the steel industry, and look forward to them. Whenever a project is frozen, then what are their requirements that should be understood beforehand, and accordingly the preparations should be done so that we could complete the project in time and there should not be any time overrun. Similar, one thing more that now all the ports are being connected through rail. Major impetus is there. This is the third pillar of Sagarmala itself to provide last mile connectivity through rail. So while the rail constructions is there, you can understand that there is a demand of steel also. So this is all little bit the port construction. Now, this coastal shipping, if you see, then I would like to take this opportunity with the steel player also available here that till now the coastal shipping has not picked up really, although the government is looking forward that the water share should be increased from 6% to 12%, but we have not really picked up. And the problem which we came to know that by ADB that, okay, the cargo size is a very big size for a ship available because the smallest ship available is something around 20,000 to 25,000 metric ton, which perhaps the steel players so perhaps this is a much bigger size and we cannot supply every day that much size. So government has given it a thought and now we are coming forward. The Sagarmala Development Company itself is coming forward to launch this coastal shipping scheme, and I would request all the steel players to use this scheme because we are going to now apply barges of 2,000 ton to 4,000 sizes in the coastal shipping, and containerized movement is going to happen. So if everything goes well, we are going to start the pilot runs in 3 months time. Then after we are looking forward a fleet of almost 500 to 800 barges moving on the coastal side. And like in Ola and Uber service, if you want to book something, you just book with your app. Obviously, there will be no human interface in the between. All app-based things, you have to just book your material from which port to which place. You want first mile, last mile conductor, you want insurance, everything done by my company, and you will provide you end-to-end service wherever you want to deliver. So my request to steel industry, please look into that. And in the how it is useful to you, because once this project takes off, yes, there will be a really huge demand for the barge construction as well as the container constructions. So I can expect that there will be huge potential for the steel players to look forward to these two things. What are the steel required for the barges and what are the steel required for the container? Similarly, while talking about the port, I also look forward to the industry that once the project is awarded, and whoever is the contractor, they should get in touch with the contractor and get the BBS ready, and they should provide the cut bars to them so that the project can really move faster. These are the new technologies which are available where you can really help the project team to execute the project much faster, which is the need of the hour to complete the project in time, and let's not go for cost and time overrun. So these are the two things we are looking forward to where the steel requirement is. And third focus area which is coming is now Ministry of Shipping is pushing very hard is the ship building and ship repair facility. We have been told in the Goa that there used to be 40-45 players in the ship building. Now almost 40 of them is closed. I have been instructed by the Honorable Minister that you please look into this industry and try to handhold them. And I am happy to know that I have spoken to all the Goa players and they are coming at one platform, and SDCL is going to provide equity support to them in launching again the shipbuilding and this barge manufacturing sector. And I hope by after a year time or so, there will be a demand of steel from the Goa side too. So these are the side, I think, pictures from the Sagarmala side. I thought I should bring it before the steel players. These are the venues where really things are going to come up. And as far as port is concerned, these are the 13-14 program I have just mentioned in brief, which has been really put before me for the PDC, because the development cell has been created at the central government level, where these projects are being put up there for the extraordinary group of secretaries. So there are many such projects which are really coming in the line. Ministry is very, very hard with all the port chairmen. Please develop all the ports in the PPP model, basically. And we are getting FDI also. So as a country, we have got a good opportunity to push our steel into all the projects. So this is all things I thought I should share with all the people over here. My side. Thank you so much for providing this opportunity.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much, Dilip, sir. And I believe Sagarmala and NHAI upcoming projects are going to be the game changer. And I'm really thankful for you to sharing your steel requirements with our fellow panelists. And viewers, I would like to inform you one thing, that last year I took an interview of Dilip, sir, in his office. So you can view his interview on our YouTube channel. He has explained in detail about the projects which are coming up under Sagarmala. Now we will move on to our next panelist, Mr. Ranjan Dhar. He's a Chief Marketing Officer at ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India. He is a seasoned professional having more than 20 years of experience in steel industry, a qualified engineer with senior management qualification from prestigious Management Institute, Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. Since October 2015, he is heading the overall sales and marketing function of domestic and export for hot rolled, cold rolled, galvanized, large die pipe, and service center business as Senior VP and CMO. I would like to welcome Mr. Ranjan Dhar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Monica, and a very good afternoon to everyone watching this. Before I begin, I wish health and safety for everyone watching this session today. In the current times, I think it's all very important. I think it's a very interesting topic, how to push steel into infrastructure, and I think it gets talked many times, but I think it is better that we have more such sessions on this so that we push the agenda in this direction. In this short time of 7 to 8 minutes, I'll try to keep my talk within the timeline. What we have to realize is that in the percentage terms, sometimes the outlay of the financing the government provides for infrastructure in the percentage times, in the percentage, in the sense of percentage, it doesn't look too low. It looks about 7% of the GDP. But if you look at our GDP as a percentage of what China is putting nearly about 10 to 12% of the GDP on the infrastructure side. Now, we have to be mindful that Chinese GDP is 5 times that of India. And in the purchasing power relation, in the rupees crore terms, I think there is a huge jump which is needed for us to put in the direction of infrastructure development. Only and only then will our economy develop. And I think a virtuous cycle will be developed in taking the purchasing power of the country as a whole up. I think infrastructure is a very important segment in uplifting the purchasing power of the country. So in my talk today, I have bifurcated my talk into 3 areas. One is the challenges which are there. We have experts in the panel, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Dilip. So I'm not going into the detail because they know the infrastructure segment very well. So I am going into the area of how we look at from the steel industry perspective, what we feel from the steel industry perspective, what are the challenges. Next point, I will talk why we should look at steel as a preferred material to bridge that gap in the infrastructure that is there in the country. And then probably what are the enablers that we can look at. So if we think about it commonsensically. If we look around, what have been the challenges? If you see the difficulty of financing and cost of credit for private players to come into the infrastructure side, people do not see, the private sector does not see the return on investment in infrastructure as opposed to many other sector. So obviously the fund gets diverted from infrastructure to other sector, which people find more lucrative. So I think we need to make this, there's a challenge one, which I find in infrastructure development. Second is the cost overruns, which happens in litigations, in land acquisitions. We have seen one project in Mumbai, for example, the Bandra-Worli Sea Link. It took about 15 years time to for it to get developed. The Navi Mumbai airport is still not above the ground. So I think those delays make private players not very aggressively looking into these segments to put their money. The other sector, the other challenges that I find in India, in last 10 years, many companies, many infrastructure companies in India, we had many companies which have gone into NCLT, and Mr. Sharma also talked about it earlier. So we have got very far and few between companies who are focusing on this space. We have got only a few companies of repute that we can talk about, let us say L&T or Afcons. But if we have to develop in this country infrastructure of a world-class scale, then probably you need 20 more L&Ts and 20 more Afcons to execute those projects, because you have many small unorganized sector companies. But if you have to create infrastructure which is of world-class standard and which can last many years, then probably you need world-class companies to execute those. I think this again, Mr. Sharma talked about this. That with the change of government, especially we see in the state government, especially when there's a change of government, the entire project goes for a renegotiation, rebidding. So I think like we are seeing even a center project like the bullet train, which had got announced by the government of India. We are seeing some challenges in executing it because some government are challenging at the state level. So this three-tier of government, that is center, state, and then the municipality, I think for infrastructure project, we will have to come out with a solution that once anything is decided, it has to be executed. And therefore, what I feel is that in India, probably government has to take a lead, as was done probably in China and many other countries, in front-ending these projects. Probably they have to handhold the projects till the time of execution. And once it is executed, then probably the transfer to private sector can happen, and even government can monetize this infrastructure project for the good. But if you leave it to private participation at the initial stage, the litigations happen, the land acquisition doesn't happen, and this goes for an inordinate delays, and even at the state government and the municipal levels, these things do not get executed. Now, if I talk about how steel plays a key role in bridging this gap, I think the steel provides a good life cycle cost benefit in the infrastructure space. I think, as I think Mr. Pandey mentioned, or that sometimes you look at only the cost at the time of supposing a road is being constructed, the cost of bridge at the time of building that bridge. You have to see an end-to-end cost of that. How does the cost compare in maintaining that bridge over its lifetime? Probably somebody was giving an example of Howrah Bridge. The maintenance cost as a reference of Howrah Bridge can be compared with probably a concrete bridge, and then we should compare how does it look at. So I think these are the important aspects when we choose steel over cement. I think steel also provides a very good resistance for natural calamities like earthquakes and floods and all that. So it is a material of choice for that. Mass production and speed. Many times we overlook this aspect, that when you go for a steel-based construction, we have seen the examples of Bogeybill Bridge or Chenab Bridge and all that. The way a steel bridge can be made for these large span bridges or even small span bridges, other materials are not as versatile as steel. one more important aspect that government agencies, including NHAI and Sagarmala and any other agency should look at, is that steel is a factory manufactured largely product. When you put into infrastructure, you will do prefabricated structures and then you will put it into the place. So I think the dependence on local contractor and local areas is lesser when you do a steel intensive infrastructure development, which also ensures that the leakage of fund is minimized because you do not depend on the local contractor and all that. So I think from the governance perspective and leakage of fund perspective, steel also provides a solution to the government of India. It also, like somebody talked about the migrant laborers going back. What I said earlier, that steel provides a virtuous cycle, because if you do steel intensive infrastructure development in this country, which is hugely deficient today, then there is a need of upping the skill of the manpower. In a small construction site of a bridge or something in a rural area, if you do it in concrete, you will deploy a semi-skilled worker as opposed to a skilled worker for a steel construction. So you will skill the people, and you will increase the income of these people, and the purchasing power of the country as a whole will go up. I think it is a very good initiative. If we move toward that direction, it will build our country as a whole. We at AMNS with the two global players coming in, that is ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel, in next 5 to 7 months, and I'm happy to share with the co-panelists and everybody watching this here, we are coming with some very innovative solutions for construction in steel, something as called as Steel Gens. It is end-to-end from a design, IT-enabled design perspective to implementation using innovative steel materials specifically for a project. It is not it is a specifically designed steel for a specific project. This will be launched countrywide, and I'm happy to share with everybody. And it will be commercially launched in about 5 to 6 months' time, and we will come out with that. Enablers, as I said, is there has to be an amendment in the law. Infrastructure project, once decided, should not be renegotiated, and I think all the approval should be pre-done. What happens is, as Mr. Sharma also announced, that 1,30,000 crore projects were announced. The implementation gets delayed because everything is not closed. Financial closures have not happened. Land acquisition has not happened. I think there is a big change which is needed in the way this law is there in the country. I know there were land reforms which were slated to be done, has got delayed. But I think if India has to arrive at the global scale of infrastructure development, these things are very important to get implemented. I think utilization of long coastline, Mr. Gupta has already said, at AMNS, we are a very aggressive user of coastline because we are at the port, at Hazira port. So we move the entire domestic into the south area, even west area, by the coastal ways. I think this can be further enhanced. I think I've talked about the financial approvals. And I think consistent policies at the state levels. If a project has been announced, it has been announced. There should not be any change. One last important point, what I find is that in India, sometimes the specs might be laid by, for example, NHAI, that every road should have a guardrail. But if you find in our own common use, we find many highways without the guardrail. What happens is the guardrail is broken, the guy there has been given contract, he has not built it again. I think there has to be a stricter policy that if any road does not comply with the guideline laid down by NHAI or any other authority, it should not be allowed to operate. Once we do that kind of an implementation, probably then all these things will be handled. Also, in many ways, in many areas, we see the guardrails are made of spurious material. Right kind of steel is not used for that. I think implementation of these specs is a weak area for us, and I think we need to improve on those aspects. I think these are all some quick thoughts that I had, which should benefit if we implement.
Right, sir. And extremely important points, like I said earlier, when you are launching a project, maybe the launching and execution are easy, but completion goes always difficult. And that is the reason why we have so many incomplete projects, because the permissions are not taken prior permissions which are needed. Now we will move on to our next panelist. We have Mr. Vinay Shroff. I'll give a little introduction of Mr. Vinay Shroff. Mr. Vinay Shroff is the head of sales and marketing domestic and international at JSW Steel Limited. He joined JSW Steel in 2010, and in a short period he has pioneered various initiatives towards improving steel sales and marketing in India. He has focused and enhanced customer services, introduced value-added products for serving yellow goods, construction, appliance, and solar sector. Mr. Shroff has built the retail business of JSW Steel, making it one of the largest in India by ensuring that JSW reaches to almost all the districts in the country. He believes in enhancing value through both branded products and formats. JSW product brands are one of the largest in their segment today. And store formats, namely JSW Explore, JSW Shop, and JSW Shop Connect, have helped establish JSW Steel in small towns and rural areas. Now we will have Mr. Vinay Shroff, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Monica. Good afternoon to all the viewers and to my respected co-panel members. This is a great opportunity to really be with such an esteemed panel we have today on the infrastructure sector, the most important sector as far as the steel industry is concerned. And after listening to Mr. Pandey and Mr. Gupta, I think all our hopes have got revived significantly. So thank you very much for that, Guptaji and Pandeyji. That was really nice. We are going through tough times. We all know that. Probably one of the toughest in our lifetime because of the current pandemic. Lives, innocent lives are being lost every day, and millions of livelihoods have been lost. We are in a position and in a situation where I know all of us, each one of us, can contribute to making sure that we get out of this unscathed and help our people get out of this. So here I'll just request all of us present here to help each other in whatever way possible to save both lives as well as livelihoods. Now, just to begin, based on the topic, I was speaking about pandemic. It has really had a disastrous impact on the global economy. We all know that. The world economy has shrunk, and along with that, obviously, the steel consumption has also shrunk. India has not been untouched. Our GDP, which is likely to go down by about less than 5%, the degrowth will be about 5%, is what is anticipated in the current year. If the GDP is going down by 5%, estimates are that the steel consumption in this year is likely to come down by anywhere between 15 to 20%. Some agencies have said it can be even higher, but let's assume that most of the infrastructure, the government stimulus, which is they have announced, comes on the ground, spends get front loaded. 15 to 20% is something which we are looking at as a contraction in the steel demand in the country in the current year. So we are actually, we have to see this year through in a manner where we keep our heads above water and we are able to survive based on all the impetus which is being provided. With a vision to the 5 trillion economy, and I just want to mention that in 2025, I think the expectation is that the spend in the infrastructure sector, and that is why we all know about more than roughly about 55–60% of the steel is consumed in the construction and the infrastructure sector. So if India has to achieve that 5 trillion economy by 2025, the spend in the infra by 2030, and obviously you start planning 4 to 5 years ahead, has to be nearly $4.5 trillion. That's the amount of investment in infra one really is looking at. With this NIP, where the investment announced is roughly about $1.5 trillion. So we are talking of, if 5 trillion has to be achieved, another 3 trillion in the next second half of the next of this decade will have to be coming in. And that is really huge. So infrastructure, therefore, plays a very, very key role as far as the steel industry is concerned, and the growth of the steel industry in trying to take it to the vision of NSP of 300 million tons. 1.5 trillion in the next 5 years is what NIP says. Just compare it with what happened in the last 5 years, 6 years was half of it. It's about 750 billion. So we are really looking at twice the investment of the last 5 years in the next 5 years. Most of it, we all know, is likely to come into sectors which is going to help drive the demand in the flat products, and that is what I've been asked to touch upon a little bit. The majority of the investment is going to go into the energy sector, and energy sector encompasses whether it is the petroleum, oil and gas, exploration, the pipelines, the entire, including the renewable energy, the entire gamut of it. And that is something which we are looking at more than roughly about 25% of this entire $1.5 trillion layout which has been planned. Similarly, on the road sector, we are talking of nearly about 20%, just about 20% in terms of the road sector investment out of this 1.5 trillion. I think in the road sector, we have heard earlier Pandey speak. One of the things which we really need to look at is how we can increase the steel consumption. And I think efforts are being made, whether it is in the bridges, in terms of providing safety. And my colleague Ranjan also spoke about, rather than looking at cost, immediate cost, we should really look at the life cycle cost of the entire project, which is really going to help not only save cost in the long term, but also help the steel sector in a big way, which is recycling, green, sustainability, climate friendly, you name it, that's what steel provides. So I think there is a need to really look at the way we can improve the steel consumption in the road sector. Similarly, we are talking about the urban infrastructure. Urban infrastructure in terms of huge amount of investment out of this, again, about 17-18% is planned. You're talking of things like Amrut, you're talking things like MRTS, smart cities, which we heard Sharma ji in the beginning, and then the JJM, the Jal Jeevan Mission. I think all this put together, if you are able to execute it in a manner the way it has been envisaged, investment of 1.5 trillion in the infra should show its results. What is the likely demand this is going to create? We are talking about in terms of the investments. What is the likely demand and rough estimate as far as the steel is concerned, that we are talking of anywhere above 150 million tons that this investment of NIP is likely to generate in the next 5 years. And that is huge. We're talking of Bharatmala, we heard Sagarmala, we heard both this put together, we are talking of 35 million tons. If this entire project is the demand for steel which it is going to create. So similarly, we have the other big project which is there is a national gas grid. I think that is something which is going to drive the demand for flat products in a very big way. We know that there is a Indradhanush gas grid coming in the northeast. Apart from that, a lot of other gas pipeline projects are in the pipeline. More than 4,000 to 5,000 kilometer long projects are there, all really going to fuel the demand for the flat products. And if I, for a second, move not only from the infra and just to say things like what we are doing, Atmanirbhar, obviously that is another big one which is going to help in the manufacturing sector, but definitely going to provide that value addition which is required in the infrastructure segment. So road sector investment should fuel the demand for flat products by usage in bridges. This needs to be looked at because of the life cycle cost, which I just spoke about, and the Nal Se Jal, the JJM Jal Jeevan Mission, housing, etc. in the urban sector, these two itself, I think, are a huge investment which will drive the flat product demand. Rural infrastructure is the another one, which is something which huge outlay has been planned. So all these infrastructure which is there in the NIP should be able to give the demand for the flat products in a very, very significant manner. No doubt this is a Herculean task, but thanks to the vision and thinking, we are attempting to do something like we have done never before. And I think we are on the right track. And I'm sure we'll achieve it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vinay sir, for giving an insight. And now, since NHA and Sagarmala has already told us about their upcoming projects, yes, the steel industry is quite hopeful. Now we will, since we are running out of time, we will move on to our next speaker. We have Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra. I'll give a little introduction of Mr. Ajay Kumar Mishra. He is working as a Chief Marketing, Construction and Commercial of Tata Steel and has a responsibility of maximizing the revenue generation, developing long-term plans to make organization future-ready. Ajay has been closely associated with Tata Steel growth journey and superheaded many TQM initiatives and continuous improvement journey. He is actively engaged with the construction wing of World Steel Association, Indian Institute of Steel Development and Growth, CII, and driving the work related to organizational synergy and integration. Over to you, Ajay sir. I'll just unmute your mic. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks, Monica, for this opportunity. Good afternoon, Mr. Pandey, Mr. Gupta, for speaking so clearly about your expectations, well noted. And there are definitely a lot of excitement that you have given to the steel industry and well noted. Before I commence my commentary, I just wanted to say all the members who have joined this this important deliberations today. This is a time where we have to take a pause to say that, are we safe? Are we maintaining social distances? Are we sanitizing ourselves well? Just a reminder. And it is something, time that we are passing through, which are really very challenging time. So I just wanted to reinforce on my own behalf, on behalf of our company, on behalf of Steel Fraternity and all the panel members. So please take care of yourselves and our best wishes. The topic is so interesting, and I was advised to talk about what is the way forward. Before I speak on the way forward, it's important to see where are we today, how has been the journey. And the journey has been quite exciting to my mind so far. And what I have heard today from our fellow panelists looks like that excitement is going to continue or it will increase manyfold. As a country standpoint, if I have to see, we are the second largest road network in the country, and I'm happy to see that Mr. Pandey, in his presence I'm speaking, we are very proud to say that we have about 5 million kilometers of road length, which is second largest in the world. Rail network wise, we are fourth largest in the world. It's about 0.1 million kilometers. Similarly, if you see in terms of air traffic wise and the passenger handle in this country, we are the fourth largest. Many ways we have really advanced in this journey of infrastructure in last 2 decades, especially last 5-7 years. And we have one of the best and the tallest bridges. We have one of the good airports, many positive news. From government standpoint, there has been a lot of policy changes, policy interventions which has been done. Many people have talked about the challenges that we are going through, but government has come up with a lot of improvement in the area of by having a Pragati, which is proactive governance and timely implementation of the project. They have also been very proactive. Just to specifically mention about NHAI, they have introduced single competent authority land acquisition scheme, which is a single point of contact for giving the land clearances. There are changes in the business model. Our other panelists have mentioned about the challenge that we are facing in various business model. Government has come up with the hybrid annuity business model. There are e-Suvidha scheme which is there. So government interventions, and many people have mentioned about the Atmanirbhar scheme. So those are the interventions which have been made by the government, and that's something which is quite encouraging. From construction industry standpoint, Ranjan mentioned about it that financially this industry is pretty challenged in terms of the cost of capital in this country. From financial lens, this is not an attractive industry, but we all need to know, and we are aware about it, that this is an industry which is a GDP multiplier. It multiplies GDP about 1.2x times. This is an industry which gives the employment, and employment generation is there through this industry. So this is a very, very important industry from a infrastructure or construction industry standpoint. From steel industry perspective, I think Mr. Vinay Shroff mentioned that 60% of steel is consumed for infrastructure and construction industry. So for a steel standpoint, it is very crucial that how we talk about it and how we view it. Honestly, we need to understand that are we giving enough attention to construction industry? Probably not. If I may take an example of automotive industry versus construction industry, I think we need to give a lot of attention to this industry, and all those points which have been mentioned by our fellow panelists are very well noted. Lastly, on as we stand today, from a consumer's perspective, we as citizen, I as an individual, do we really pay for the convenience? Needs to be thought through. If I save on my time, are we really willing to pay? If I save on my journey, or what Mr. Gupta has mentioned about it, if South Mumbai is connected with the western suburbs, it will save my about 40 minutes time or 1 hour of time. Are we really willing to pay for it? And that's something which we as a citizen need to probably need to understand, and we need to focus on. Moving forward, I think in my way forward, the point I will just like to allude 5 points. First of all, very, very critical points and important points have been told by Mr. Pandey and Mr. Gupta in terms of how do we talk about life cycle cost analysis, how we talk about Uberization, of the some of the possibility of doing some of the fleet moving, barges moving. Those are very, very critical points, and we need to go ahead on that. First point, I think, on way forward is we need to balance out rural versus urban. Rural infrastructure, Mr. Vinay Shroff touched upon it, but I think there's a huge scope on the rural infrastructure upgradation also. We have been talking about solar. We have been talking about road connectivity to the rural India. We have also been talking about many improvements where rural and urban gets connected very well. So while most of the infrastructure projects we see from an urban standpoint, but if there is a possibility of connecting with the rural, it will be very important. My second point is on focus on quality. Whether we talk about quality of construction or quality of steel material, high-strength steel is one point what Mr. Pandey mentioned about it. We need to think through how we upgrade and how fast. I was very happy to hear from him that it is, if not, why should we talk about 600 strength grade? Why don't we look at even higher strength grade? We have taken the note of it, and surely it is an excitement for us to talk about higher strength steel when we go ahead on this. When we talk on quality of construction, I think we need some help from NHAI, from Bharatmala, from Sagarmala, and all the people who are involved into this. How do we enhance and adopt the best practices in the construction? And that is something which we will request if we are able to go for adoption of some of the solutions that that we have in terms of taking care of speed of the project, the speed of construction, by providing you precast, by providing you cut and bend, by providing you some of the welded wire fabric solutions, by providing you some high-strength steel. Those are the things, if it can help improve quality of construction, we would definitely like to do that, which helps you to meet your target, don't have a cost overrun, and also try to have a value on this. Third point is on sustainability. We all have talked about it. We have touched upon, earlier panel members have touched upon this subject, but I want to re-emphasize that going forward, while current pandemic is one big challenge, but I think all of us are very clear about it, that sustainability and environment challenge is even much bigger, and that's something which we all need to address. So how do we use a product which is reusable, which can be more addressing the need of the circular economy? So from the perspective of sustainability, how can we take care of more uses of steel? We were talking a few days back with Mr. Vinay Shroff. We were saying that some of the practices, global practices, that steel bridges. Ranjan also mentioned about Havra bridges, but in India, if we talk about number of bridges, probably there are 175,000 bridges are there, but 2% or 1% bridges are made of steel. But any advanced countries, the steel bridges are about 60 to 70%. But that's the kind of change probably we need to think about, and that's where one of the requests that I have to fellow panelists and through this forum to all the people, that if we are able to go for the option of better and improve the quality of construction.
Right.
Second last point I have is on the area of digital and adoption of technology. And last is on some of the policy advocacy, which is more to see that how do we take care of BIS, how do we take care of design codes, portal provision. So to conclude, I would say this is the decade. This is the golden decade for steel industry. This is the golden decade for infrastructure and construction. And we are quite excited. There is temporary blip, but we are quite excited that the future is very bright, and we all commit on behalf of the steel industry, on behalf of Tata Steel, to all our members, that we will be committed and we would try and meet all your expectations going forward to have a world-class infrastructure in India. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ajay sir, for giving us a perspective with regards to construction solutions. Before we begin the Q&A, I will request Ranjan Dhar sir to just highlight the key points of each speaker, to just summarize it, so that it creates a recall for our audience also, and then we can start the Q&A very quickly. Ranjan sir. Sir, can't hear you. So please unmute your mic. Right, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Absolutely, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So before I move to the doing a summary, I would also like to share with everybody watching and fellow panelists, especially Mr. Pandey and Mr. Gupta, is steel industry in India has developed capacities for infrastructure over the last 10 years. This entire industry can provide the entire spectrum, from a TMT bar to an offshore platform API grade, from the TMT bar to heavy plates. So entire capacity, 100% capacity is available for the use of infrastructure. We are not import dependent. We are totally Atmanirbhar as far as the steel for construction is concerned. So happy to engage. And also, I think Mr. Pandey spoke about the steel slag. I had also personally written to NHAI. We are very aggressively looking at engaging with NHAI for steel slags. So much so that even if we do, you want to do it no profit, no loss, or even free of cost, we are ready to look at that to offer it to the NHAI for road projects. That is one point. To summarize, Monica, I think it was a brilliant session till now. Mr. Pandey updated us about NHAI, how the entire NHAI is 130K kilometers and 65K kilometers on the Bharatmala side. The 7,000 kilometers is under development this year, and how they're not giving any preference to any material, whether it is steel or cement. The cost plays an important role, so we should engage with NHAI more, how to bring the sense of total life cycle cost of the project with them, so that we can push more steel intensive development. Then of course we had Mr. VR Sharma giving us the entire perspective of the stall projects, and then like Amravati and many other projects which have been stalled, and how we can push them, engaging with government and bringing them upstream. Mr. Dilip Kumar Gupta gave very interesting insight into the entire Sagarmala and how an Uberization of coastal movement is doing. It is a very, very, very interesting project, especially very close to heart to steel industry, because we are looking for these solutions of smaller load. And he touched upon a very critical point that we cannot have 25,000 load for every destination, every short time. So I think smaller road through barge movement or 2,000, 4,000 ton barge movement is very critical. And I'm very happy that the thought process is happening on that direction. Mr. Vinay Shroff spoke about the entire flat steel gamut into the infrastructure side and how we are totally geared up. Ajay spoke about the rural development and the GDP multiplier that the infrastructure segment brings about for the economy of the country as a whole, and also steel. So happy to take questions. We can open it for questions.
Right, sir. So we have received many questions from our participants. I'll take up questions one by one. So I will start the question of Mr. Ravindraman. He's asking, has NHAI or Ministry of Road issued any advisory to EPC contractors to use steel slag in national and state highways? Pandey sir, this is for you. I'll unmute you. Sir, please unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself.
Use of slag in the road construction is part of the specification, and people are started using it. Despite of the fact when it's part of the specification, there were certain issues related to its uses, particularly because of the volumetric changes. So we have not only issued advisory, we have engaged CRRI to work on how best we can use even the slag, which is expands when treated.
So we have next question from Mr. Devashish Mahapatra. He is from JSW Steel. He's asking, since major infrastructure projects, the execution time is more than 5 to 6 years, completion period and statutory clearance is taking almost 2 years, how to enable our banking sector to lean for such long period, since the capital expenditure by Government of India or PSU will widen the fiscal deficit. Also, the 22% investment from private sector is apprehensive. Anyone can answer. Sir, I'll unmute you, Pandey sir. Yes.
On the basis of our experience over a period of last 2 decades, we realized the biggest issue is the land acquisition. So now we, as a policy, made it a point, until and unless we have land, 90% land in our hand, will not award a project.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Dilip sir. Sir, I've unmuted you. Yeah.
Yes, sir. A very recent development. An extraordinary group of secretary forum has been created for such large infrastructure projects. If there is any bottleneck which state government or any authority is not able to solve, then a project development cell joint secretary level post has been created in all the ministries, almost at least 11-12 ministries of the crucial ministries. 11-12 PDC has been created. This is being headed by one of the joint secretaries over there in the ministry, and they are empowered even to waive off anything if anything is demanded particularly. Suppose for a particular item we want that there should be some waiver in the custom duty or some GST is reduced, and normal the state government and other officers are saying, sorry, it is beyond my capacity, I can't handle it. And because of that only the project is lingering on. Then such things can be brought to the ministry through the PDC. That state government or the project proponent can write to the PDC that this is my problem and I want that extraordinary group of secretaries should see this problem. And this is being done on a monthly basis. So I just thought I should share this idea with you, which could really solve the bottlenecks which is being faced by the major infrastructure projects. If there is some private investment, if there is some FDI, and if there is such problem, this is going to very, very seriously being taken up, and the first meeting is on 24th of July only.
Thank you so much for the insight, sir. We have another question from Ramakrishna Panda. He represents Adani Dhamra Port. His question is from Dilip sir only. Can the Sagarmala project work on that way to make India a marine hub like Singapore, UAE? Sir.
Yeah, we are looking forward to, if the people are coming in support, if Adani comes, obviously Adani is doing a lot in this sector. And we are also looking forward, ministry is supporting us. The Sagarmala Development Company has also been created only to boost the infrastructure development in the marine sector. The whole Sagarmala program aims for that only. So we are looking forward to create a much bigger hub in the Sri Lanka, which is a major transshipment as of now. Government is intending to look into how it can be brought to the India. So I think Adani is also aware about all these issues, how we are going ahead. That's why we are developing all the berths. I have just shown you the list of the projects which is going to come up in the next 2 month time. Then after the list is also ready with another 10 to 12 projects going to come in another 2 month time. So we have a huge pipeline of projects in the shipping sector to develop all the work. We want to actually privatize and increase the efficiency. So with the same waterfront area, we want to increase the efficiency and increase the capacity. I think that is the right time to increase the efficiency, and by increasing the efficiency, we should increase the capacity of the port. Right, so sir. We are looking to be one of the big ones.
Right, sir. Thank you. We have questions from Mr. Manoj Bhutani. He is asking from Ranjan Dhar, sir. Can you elaborate on end-to-end solution your organization is providing?
So the end-to-end solution that I mentioned was a Steel Gens project, which is being launched. Today, as on today, without the launch of Steel Gens project, we have got many products in the flat steel space that are available. Also, we have got fabricated structure. We have a separate division for fabricated structure, which provides solution for the fabrications. Apart from that, the Steel Gens is a new idea which is implemented by ArcelorMittal in Europe and other part of the world, which provides solution from designing stage to the implementation stage, basis the criticality of that project, depending on the land available, the kind of structure, the kind of usage of the building. So it does innovative, in an innovative way, select the right material, including the right quality of steel that should be used in a particular project with the right designing. It is a mega project. Anybody can go on the net and check. It is called Steel Gens, and whoever is interested can connect back with us. I will provide more details.
Ranjanji, I would like to know, suppose if you want to construct a jetty in the seaside, and suppose I offload the contract to you, you please provide me the complete solution along with the construction. Will you be able to take it there?
Yes, that Steel Gens is a solution for that. So I'll come back to you on. I'll connect with you on that, Gupta ji. In fact, on an email I will send you a small note on that.
Thank you.
Well, the same question I would like to ask Vinay sir and Ajay sir as well. You can answer one by one. So Vinay sir, is JSW also working on end-to-end solutions?
Yes. So currently, if you are aware that we already have for the construction pre-engineered buildings, high-rise, high-structure buildings, we already have a joint venture. So we are present in the building sector, pre-engineered building sector. To give it for all the solution for all the applications across, I think it will come out in phases. We have not yet looked at all the applications, but yes, definitely it will gradually come out. We are focusing on the construction part as of now. So we already have that.
Right, sir.
Severfield, we have a JSW.
Ajay sir, would you like to comment? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is the fundamental focus which has been always there. How do we move away from product to solutions? Just to tell, to respond to this question, I think we need to see from customer expectations and experience perspective more and more as the wall between B2B, B2C is getting blurred. B2B must also need to enhance their experience and expectation. So that perspective, any construction site that requires 2 point of view here, like to place how to save on time. So what is the best way to provide the solutions in form of a cut and bend steel, in form of giving anything which is ready with, rather than them arranging on site and also ensuring the quality. Second point is also all product that's required for the construction, whether it is rebar, whether it is plate, whether it is tubular structure, whether it is wire. So just to take an example to relate, the Bandra Valley ceiling that we all are well familiar with, it consumed 35,000 ton of rebar. It also consumed plate. It also consumed 5,000 ton of rebar. So as a customer, you need to get entire solutions rather than look for standards separately, evaluate and come back. I think Mr. Gupta was alluding to that. How can I just leave by giving the contract in one go, look for the final outcome in terms of solutions? So that's something which we are driving, and we will continue to focus ourselves from the journey of product to solutions. Thank you.
Right, sir. Now we have a question for Mr. R.K. Pandey again. Looks like Pandey is in high demand right now. So this question has been asked by Mr. Nagendra Vijayvargiya. He is from ISDA Engine in the Stainless Steel Institute in Stainless Steel Development Association. His question is, when you said we are looking at cost, are you looking on the initial cost only or life cycle cost also? Which is more important for you? So please, yeah.
No, as far as we are concerned, we are always going for life cycle cost. As I told you in the beginning, even when we are deciding the alignment, we are working on life cycle cost, which include not only the construction cost, but the vehicle operating cost, and where the reduction in the speed is taken care of, we are going by that. But when it comes to steel, I don't have any mathematical model available with me to do the whole life cycle cost analysis. That is what I, requested steel industry to come forward, give me the mathematical formulation. Everybody says that steel is cheaper in long term. Tell me how. That mathematical model I am looking for. The day I have the mathematical model, I will start doing it.
I think this is where, as in sir has highlighted the, the real point. Like he initially said, the cement has already given NHAI the life cycle cost and all those scientific methods. But I believe, hearing from Mr. Pandey that steel industry also need to give him some documentation and presentation.
I think it is incumbent on the steel industry to prove that to NHA and any other authority. I think it somewhere shows the weakness. I will be candid to say weakness of institutes like INSDAG and all that. But let us push for that. There are already scientific studies done, and we will send a document. In fact, together with under whatever umbrella CII and all, we can conduct one session with NHAI or any other authority to prove this point. I think very important point.
Then we can also conduct that. Anyways, we will move on to next question. This question
sorry,
is.
I was talking about competition. Sorry.
It's okay. So we have Mr. Vijay Amrashetty. He represents. He's a manager, business development and steel Coal International Private Limited. His question is again from Mr. Pandey. He's asking, as Niti Aayog mandate the use of most recyclable products, I see NHAI has only primary steel approved brands enlisted. Will there be any scope for other steel companies with all required facilities can enlist in NHAI?
Let me tell you, as far as NHAI is concerned, we go as per the specification of the ministry. And the last specification of the ministry was last revised maybe around 15 years back. Therein, they have indicated the primary producers. Basically 6. It is not the question. As far as NHAI is concerned, we don't impanel anyone. It is for the concerned contractor and concessionaire to procure steel from anywhere. But the point is, as I told you, our only concern is the quality. Why we have written during that period that we want from the primary? Because we wanted to be doubly sure that scrap steel or steel with different chemical composition won't come into the use of the structure, which is designed for 100 years. So if someone can give me a kind of confidence that yes, this steel is of quality, probably, but this issue they'll have to take up with the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways.
Right, sir. So we have a question from Mr. Pavan Sai Kumar from Sandur. He's asking whether Indian in-house manufacturers are capable to reach the country requirements, or shall we should import from the other countries to reach the requirements?
And if the question is whether we have capacities available for steel, I think, as I said earlier,
I think what he means, are we capable enough domestic steel industry to meet the Indian requirements?
More than enough.
Oh yes, absolutely. And I think not only just the capacity, if I can take that, and then maybe Ranjan or Ajay can add. We are today, from a capacity perspective, less than 80% capacity utilization, 75%. So capacity-wise, there's no problem. Absolutely. From a technical aspect, with any high-end steel, whether it is in automotive or in high strength construction sector, I think as an industry, we are more than capable, even in the high-speed rails, for example, the industry, we are really capable of making that. So from an industry perspective, in any sector, I think that there should not be any problem as far as meeting the requirement of the country going forward.
Right.
Just to add to that, just to add to what, sorry, Ajay, I think I cut you, but we are the second largest steel producer in the world. India today is the second largest steel producer in the world, and also the amount of capacity building that has happened in last 10 years is actually very good, not only on the volume axis, also on the quality axis and also on the product axis. Yeah, Ajay.
Right, sir. Yeah, just
I just wanted to add the point of to respond, Mr. Pavan, that one aspect is capacity, but also capability wise, as Mr. Vinay was mentioning. So while capacity we continue to invest. I think as a steel industry, you know that the future plan is clearly laid out. Per capita steel consumption perspective, also there is a 300 million ton plan which is laid out. So that will happen. But what is important to note, Mr. Pavan, is that in terms of capability enhancement, which has happened over the period, and all the equipment that most of the steel industry invest in is best in class, best in the world, and that we can assure you that we can meet all these requirements. That's the reason I was saying when Mr. Gupta and Mr. Pandey said about the future requirement, we were quite excited. And we will definitely be ready for the future, for sure.
Right, sir. So we have one question from Mr. Bhavan Bhuta. He represents Hina Steel LLP, Bombay. His question is, from current per capita consumption of 72 kgs, when we are likely to touch 150 kgs, considering the delay in projects in India? Anyone can answer?
That's why we are having these conferences, how to increase that. I think important question. As I said, not only we should not grow the steel tonnage used in the country as a result of population increase, but we should increase the intensity of steel, and that will increase the per capita. But I think with the national steel policy of 300 million ton, we are in that course. But I think such sessions are really very important, wherein we focus and bring out solutions for the industry, for the infrastructure industry, so that this can go up.
One question I want to ask from my side: why do the infra projects still depend on imported steel today when we talk about design issues or cost issues or policy gap? Vinay sir, you can answer this.
No, my sense is, as fellow panelists mentioned, both Ranjan and Ajay also, I think today, as far as the infrastructure demand in the country is concerned, whether it is capacity or the quantity or the quality involved, in the Indian industry is more than capable of meeting that demand. We need to move in a direction where we start, and that was one of the points which I would have mentioned, that is, how do you really move to a situation where we talk of make in India, melt and manufacture in India? How do you ensure that we promote what is available in the country? Are we looking at something which is in gain for us in the immediate future? And when I'm talking about we in the sense the user infrastructure side, or we are looking at a long-term benefit to the country across all sectors? And if that is the case, there needs to be a situation created wherein we use the capability which the steel industry has to offer. Well, come on, the rail is a classic example. And today you have the rails being exported from India to Europe for Eurail. That cannot be, that is one of a testimony to the quality which is available in any application, I'm saying, to the infrastructure segment. So we as an industry are capable, and I think we need to work towards to ensure that this capability is leveraged within the country. Mr. Pandey had mentioned, and there were a lot of questions about life cycle cost coming up. So a lot of such initiatives we need to work together and make sure that we are able to move forward in that direction. I don't think there should be any challenge in terms of meeting the requirement of infrastructure's steel demand.
Right, sir.
If I may add to that, Monica, is if you see the import dependence of infrastructure project, specifically to that, has gone down. I don't have the exact percentage today. We can talk about it, but I think it would have gone down substantially in last 10 years. Where the import used to happen in the heavy plate segment, for example. That heavy plate capacity both at AMNS and at JSPL has come up, and it caters to the entire requirement of heavy plate, be it power projects and all that. What we need to look at basically is the equipment, and I think this Atmanirbhar Bharat has put a focus on that. Power equipment, for example, we had a great company BHEL or L&T in India, but the equipments are getting imported from China or elsewhere. So I think those equipment need to, as far as steel for infrastructure concerned, for example, oil and gas, API sector, the entire capacity exists today. The oil infrastructure by gas company IOCL, GAIL, now the tender specifies that they have to use local steel. Otherwise, we are getting imported for other reasons. The capacity exists.
These questions are so close to our heart. We tend to respond. So I will also take maybe 30 seconds to respond. I think I will draw a parallel to automotive industry for construction. So if I may take about decade or decade and a half back, we were having a theme running in the country as a steel producers, a theme of localization, and that localization theme called for us to invest in the capability. That called for us to invest in technology, and that's what we did. And in last 15 years, I can tell you, and I can tell all the members who have joined, we are one of the world's best in terms of capability to serve automotive steel, whether it is a high strength steel, whether it's a thickness on the steel. So we have actually traveled our journey in terms of automotive, and hence we are saying with confidence to say that we are ready for construction as well. It's a question of how we are able to best use whatever we have, and we will be happy to share the capability that we have, and also capacity is so far unlimited, as we are using 80% of country's capacity. And we continue to invest on this journey going forward.
Right, sir. So we will take one or two more questions, and then Vinay sir can conclude the session. This question is from Mr. Bipin Chandra. He is asking, do we see FRC as a threat to steel industry? Anyone can answer. Do we see FRC as a threat to steel industry?
FRP or FRC? Fiber is it the polymer that he's talking about? FRC? RCC or
FRC? FRC.
I did not understand the question properly, Monica.
Okay, then we will move on to next question. This question is from Mr. Pradyup Bhuyan. He is asking, are we planning to adopt pre-stressed concrete bridges or steel grinder bridges only to improve the steel consumption without considering the economics part? Yeah, he represents NMDC.
I think Mr. Pandey can talk about it, but from the steel perspective, if you see the bridges, as I was saying, the Bogeyville bridge and all the other steel bridges that have been made has proven on the cost parameters, on the life cycle cost parameters, on the aesthetic parameters, on the implementation parameters very well, and these are all documented. Happy to share those documents, but probably Mr. Pandey can throw some more light on that.
Pandey sir, please unmute your mic.
Yeah. Again, the issue which comes up again and again is whole life cycle cost analysis. We don't do it. So what we did is intermediate. We have decided we will not specify in our tender whether I need RCC bridge, pre-stressed concrete bridge, or the steel bridge. It is for the concessionaire and contractor to decide what kind of bridge they would like to construct. Why we did so? Because I didn't have any mathematical model. When the BOT project started, there is every possibility the BOT concessionaire can build this bridge faster and save some money in terms of the toll. So we left it to the contracting industry to do it till I had that mathematical model.
And sir, Bipinji has clarified what he was asking. He was asking for fiber reinforced concrete.
Oh, as far as fiber reinforced plates are concerned, we are presently using for repair and rehabilitation rather than construction.
Okay. Now I would request Vinay sir to please conclude the session.
Okay. I think, well, we have come to the end of another very interactive and exciting and knowledgeable session. All the fellow panelists and the questions we got were extremely challenging also and interesting. We as a steel industry definitely want to reassure each and every user that we are fully geared up to meet all the demands. Just a couple of points which I thought would be worth looking at, pondering going forward. How do we, so as to make sure that we as a country which is growing, no country can really develop fast if the steel industry and the infrastructure segment, which is heavily dependent on the steel industry, does not grow as fast. How does one really look at, should I say, supporting or trying to create an environment which will help a level playing field for the steel industry within the country? I think that is something which is very, very important. Removal of any disparity which is existing today, creating a level playing field. I think that is something which we are looking at. Government has taken the initiative in terms of Make in India. Obviously, we keep looking at things like melt and manufacture in India. DMISP is another initiative which has been taken towards that direction. If all these things which the initiative which has been taken are reinforced and in true earnest and make sure that they are fast tracked from an industry perspective, we are sure to gain, and more so from a country perspective. Another point which is there is, and in terms of making available the capital, cheap capital, can I say? In India, we are really looking at a 10 percentage points difference with what is available to people globally and what is available in India. And as Ranjan said earlier, we are the second largest steel producer in the country, in the world as a country. And therefore, to really leapfrog to the next level of 300 million tons, which the country is looking at, financial equality in terms of what is available to the industry will have to be looked at. And this is something which I would like to put it on the table as to how one can initiate this. Today, the situations are tough, extremely tough. We all know that. Lending by the banks have become quite a risk averse. How do we really ensure that we get the confidence back in the whole system and the lending is really improved by the bank? This is another point which I thought I'll just put forward. We heard about import substitution. I think as an industry, there is a huge amount of initiative which has been taken to support MSMEs, exporters, so that the manufacturing under the Atmanirbhar also picks up in a big way, and overall the country benefits. And one of my last points, and this is my personal favorite too, which is the digitalization. I think Ajay touched upon it. As an industry, we really need to change. We really need to adopt digitalization in a manner which will bring in a lot of efficiency. And digitalization is something which brings in efficiency. We need to embrace it without any fear. I think that is something which, as an industry, we really need to look at it. So I'll just conclude by saying that things have changed extremely fast in the last 6 months. But today is the time for us to change like never before. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vinay, for providing the concluding remarks. I would like to inform everyone that the recorded version of this webinar is now available on YouTube channel, and already there are a lot of people who are watching it. I would again like to thank our fellow panelists, Sri R.K. Pandey, Member Projects, National Highway Authority of India, Mr. V.R. Sharma, MD, JSPL, Mr. Dilip Kumar Gupta, Managing Director, Sagarmala Development Company Limited, Mr. Ranjan, Chief Marketing Officer, ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India, Shri Vinay, Shroff, Executive VP, JSPL Steel Limited, Mr. Ajay, Chief Marketing, Construction and Commercial, Tata Steel Limited, and also a big thanks to our sponsors for making this possible for us to organize this exclusive webinar on enhancing Indian steel demand through Infra project, sponsored by JSPL, ArcelorMittal, Nippon Steel India, JSW Steel Limited, Electrotherm TMT, Murugappa Group, TI, Macho TMT, and American Steel Private Limited. And a big thanks to our participants for bearing with us, though we have crossed the limit, but they are still with us. Thank you so much. We will meet you in our next webinar. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.